That night at dinner, my mother-in-law tripped me on purpose and no one spoke up for me. And in that moment, I finally realized I was never part of that family. The first sound that morning was not my alarm, but the vibration of my phone moving across the nightstand, and I felt tension in my chest before I even checked the screen because I already knew who it would be. It was 6:41 in the morning, and the message was from Helena, my mother-in-law, whose words always carried more weight than they should have. She wrote that the welcome dinner for Julian and Maeve needed to be flawless, that she had updated the shared notes and that I should follow them exactly, and there was no greeting or warmth in the message. Only instructions delivered with confidence. Helena never raised her voice because she never needed to, as her control came from certainty rather than volume, and over the years I had learned that disagreeing with her only created more work for me. I handed the phone to my husband, Owen, who was half asleep beside me. And after reading the message, he sighed and said that she was just nervous because Julian was involved and that I was better at handling these things than anyone. It's really meant that I was better at absorbing pressure so everyone else could stay comfortable. Julian was Owen's brother and had recently returned from Zurich with a promotion that no one fully understood but everyone admired. And his wife Maeve was 7 months pregnant and treated like something fragile and rare. Helena spoke about Maeve with care and reverence, as if one wrong move might damage her. And the dinner was Helena's idea, even though the responsibility for making it perfect had quietly become mine. When I opened the shared notes on my phone, the list felt endless and included instructions for slow-roasted lamb cooked medium only without rosemary, citrus fennel salad with a dressing served separately, hand-pulled bread brushed lightly, pear nectar for Maeve that was cold-pressed, and organic, wine decanted exactly 30 minutes before serving, table settings arranged by height order, and a reminder that Julian preferred narrow-stem glasses. And at the bottom, it clearly stated that there should be no improvisation. At 8:10 that morning, the doorbell rang, but Helena had already let herself in before I reached the hallway. And she moved through the kitchen without asking, scanning every surface like an inspector. She said she came early to help because support worked best before habits formed. And then she opened the refrigerator and began rearranging shelves, commenting that goat butter was unpredictable and suggesting it was not suitable for Maeve, even though it was what we normally used. She also noticed spices near the stove and said they would not be used because Julian disliked warm spices, which surprised me since I had known Julian for over a decade and he had eaten my cooking many times without complaint. Helena sat down and opened her binder, reviewing napkin folds, chair spacing, and candle height, while I nodded and smiled and stayed quiet, because silence had become the easiest way to survive moments like that. Later that morning, Maeve called and said that Helena had told her to stay off her feet to protect her energy. And then she mentioned that Helena kept asking how she planned to raise the baby and sent her old articles about feeding schedules and sleep routines, and before ending the call, she said that I managed Helena so well, even though the truth was that I had simply learned how to disappear the next morning. Helena arrived before sunrise and was already inside when I came downstairs. And she immediately commented that the placemats wrinkled and said she brought better ones because ours would not photograph well, although she never explained who was taking photographs. By midday, the house smelled like bread, citrus, and meat. And my daughter colored quietly at the counter while Helena adjusted the music volume. Maeve arrived, glowing and fragile, and sat where Helena placed her. And Julian arrived later, full of stories and energy, while Helena watched him with pride. Owen floated between rooms, refilling glasses and nodding along. And my father-in-law sat on the couch scrolling headlines, physically present but emotionally distant. By evening, everything was ready. As the lamb rested, the bread cooled, and the table shimmered under soft light. And Helena walked through the dining room one final time to remind me that Julian preferred narrow-stem glasses. I lifted the platter with both hands and walked toward the table while Helena followed closely behind. And as we passed the fireplace, she shifted just enough for her foot to press lightly against mine, causing the platter to tip as the lamb slid. The bowl cracked and wine spilled across the rug in front of everyone. Maeve gasped, Julian froze, and Helena spoke first by calmly stating that hosting required steadiness. While no one contradicted her, Owen said nothing. And my father-in-law did not look up. In that moment, something inside me settled. Not anger, but clarity, and I set the empty platter down and said that I was done. Helena told me not to dramatize the situation, but I told her that I was not her assistant and not her rehearsal space. And when Owen asked to talk later, I told him that. Later never came. I removed my apron and walked out into the cold air without grabbing a coat. And I drove until my hands stopped shaking before arriving at my sister's place, where she opened the door without questions and handed me tea and told me I could stay as long as I needed. Messages flooded my phone asking where I was and saying that things looked bad and needed to be fixed. But no one asked if I was okay. 2 days later, Helena came to my sister's door holding flowers that were already wilting, with Maeve standing beside her. And Helena said she miscalculated and that it was not intentional. But I told her that she did not miscalculate and that she maneuvered. Maeve then explained that after I left, Helena asked her to finish dinner and handed her my apron. And when Helena said she was trying to keep order, Maeve told her that she was actually trying to replace me. I did not take the flowers and told Helena that I chose myself and that she no longer had the right to shape me. And after they left, Owen came later that night and said he should have stopped her, to which I replied that he should have seen me. I did not go back, and weeks later Helena sent a letter saying that she confused control with care, which I folded and put away without responding. I found a small apartment of my own filled with light and quiet and no shared lists, and Maeve later messaged me saying she learned something watching me walk away. While Julian said nothing, Owen sent one final message asking if it was really over. And I did not reply because I had answered enough times already. In my new kitchen, I cooked freely using spices Helena hated, played music loudly, burned bread, and laughed. And I finally understood that the silence around me was not empty at all, because it belonged to me. Thank you for listening to this story. And if it connected with you, please subscribe for more real stories about family conflict, emotional boundaries, and choosing yourself.